Welcome, everyone, to What to Watch Live, the show where we discuss the best in TV and entertainment this week. My name is David, and today I am joined by two of my favorite people, my fellow Xfinity editors, Rose and Gordon.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual, David.
In the case of Rose, it's my mom's favorite person. She has made it no secret that Rose is her favorite editor. She tunes in for Rose, not for me.
But, does your mom have like a definitive ranking, and am I last? I guess that's it.
You are not last.
Okay.
She did one time message me and was like, I don't particularly care for Scott.
No, she didn't.
I swear to God. And I was like, he was just having a bad day. Scott's great. But she was like, something about him is rubbing me the wrong way.
Oh, Cindy.
I get it. I totally get it.
Well, I'm glad everyone's great. Hello to everyone watching across all of our Xfinity platforms. And if you're watching on the 24/7 What to Watch channel on Zumo, that's awesome. Thanks for tuning in. We have another great show for you today, as always. First up, we'll reveal some horror movie essentials available for free right now on Zumo. Rose will help us celebrate Filipino American History Month. We will dive into some of our current creepy true crime confessions. We'll be joined by the stars of AMC's Interview with the Vampire, Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed. And as always, we'll help you organize your TV watch list for the week ahead. I can't wait for Scott to see this and know that my mom said that. I think I told him he's going to be so angry because everyone loves Scott, but not my mom apparently. So let's kick things off with the greatest scary movies ever made in a segment called Free. If you are a fan of Halloween and horror movies, I'm sure you have that handful of terrifying flicks you just have to watch before All Hallows Eve. Well, so do I. And if you're looking for horror movie essentials, look no further than Zumo, which has several of the greatest films in the genre's history, and they are available to watch for free at no additional cost to you. So let's take a look at them, shall we? First up is the iconic 1922 silent film Nosferatu. Directed by F.W. Murnau, this German film is a loose adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula and tells the story of a vampire named Count Orlok who terrorizes the village of Weisberg. Bram Stoker's estate actually sued the filmmakers over Nosferatu, and a court ordered that all copies...
Sorry, excuse me. Nosferatu. So good.
Well, I think you sneezed on our last episode that I was on with you with, and you said it was the first time anyone had ever sneezed on What to Watch Live, and now second time. Nosferatu. Well done. Did Brad say that in the Nosferatu? I said Nosferatu.
David's mom has a new least favorite, Rose.
It's you, Rose. You're done.
I vowed.
So all the copies of Nosferatu were actually ordered to be destroyed, but at least one of the prints survived and is now regarded as one of the greatest films ever made. And another fun fact about this is that Christopher Walken's character in Batman Returns was named Max Schreck as a tribute to the actor who played Nosferatu, Max Schreck. So
I love this.
Yeah, so that's the first one. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but it's super creepy and made even creepier by the fact that it's a silent film, which, I mean, who watches silent film anymore? Like, no one, because they don't exist.
That's true. And I actually do a very short impersonation of Christopher Walken as Max Schreck.
Yes,
Santa Claus. Afraid not.
That's a good one. I like
that. Bravo.
Good job.
Well, let's move on to the next one that I'm really, really excited about, and that is the 1959 Vincent Price classic, House on Haunted Hill. I love Vincent Price, and aside from House of Wax, this is my favorite Price film. He plays a millionaire who invites 5 guests to his home for a haunted house party with the promise that anyone who lasts the full night will win $10,000. Of course, that was easier said than done. House on Haunted Hill was directed by William Castle, who is perhaps best known for his low-budget B-movies and his in-theater gimmicks that he used to enhance and promote his films. And for House on Haunted Hill, Castle had elaborate pulley systems installed in theaters which dropped a plastic skeleton over audiences during a corresponding scene in the movie. And this was pretty typical for Castle. Some of his other gimmicks included vibrating seats for the film The Tingler, a pre-movie poll for the movie Mr. Sardonicus, where audiences could vote on the villain's fate before the film even started. And there was actually 2 endings for the film that were shot. One where the villain was killed and one where the villain was shown mercy. And there were rumors that the merciful ending was never even filmed because audiences never voted for mercy. But Castle insisted there was a different ending. And then for the film Homicidal, audiences could choose to leave the theater during what they called a fright break before the finale in case they were too scared. And it was very much like that shame moment where the audience members had to leave and go to a section called Coward's Corner, where they would have to sign a yellow card saying they were too chicken to stay.
A yellow card.
And forced to leave. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea of the man behind these movies, and House on Haunted Hill is just one of the best.
That would be me, though. I
Rose
would be proud to sign that card and hold that up. I would be like, so yeah, peace.
What was also interesting about that one is that audiences would be given their money back if they decided that they couldn't handle it. So people were coming a second night, watching the movie up to the finale, and then leaving to get their money back. Until William Castle caught on and started having different colored tickets for different nights.
Oh, interesting.
The third film in our lineup is George A. Romero's 1968 genre-defining classic, Night of the Living Dead. This is, of course, the quintessential zombie movie, which follows 7 people trapped in a rural farmhouse under siege by a mob of brain eaters. It's worth noting that The Night of the Living Dead marked the first time a Black man had been cast as the star and hero of a horror movie. That actor, Dwayne Jones, would appear in only 5 more movies before his death in 1988. And while zombies had been appearing in films for more than 5 decades before Night of the Living Dead, Romero established the standard for how the Walking Dead appear and act and move on camera. But of course, now modern horror movies like World War Z, Zombieland, 28 Days Later, and the Night of the Living Dead remakes have changed the standard to zombies who run, dividing fans into 2 camps. So Rose, I know you are a big zombie movie fan. Do you prefer walking zombies or running zombies?
Walking, duh. But I mean, let's clarify. I'm a fan only because I want to know how to survive. That is my worst irrational fear. Okay. I'm not a fan because I'm like, zombies, I love you. No, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm paying attention to the survivors and paying attention to the people who die first because I'm not I'm not going to do what they did, those mistakes. Yes. But walking all the way. You want zombies running at you at lightning speed like in World War Z? H to the E double L, no.
Gordon, do you have a preference?
I have very strong opinions about this. And back when I used to live in apartments, I would take into account the ability to protect the place in the case of a zombie attack. The way to do it is to have a staircase that goes down to a door, because I figured you could take like a love seat, throw it down there, and wedge between the stairs and the door. There's no way to get in, and they can't get to a second floor window. But when it comes to
the high ground,
thought it out. But now I'm in a house with windows, and I'm screwed. In the case of the zombie apocalypse. But my take is, I'll watch any zombie movie, and I don't have a preference. But in real life, because this will happen, a walking zombie, I'd be like, all right, we need to figure this out. How are we going to survive? Let's band together. A running zombie, it would just be like, well, let's call it a day. What are you going to do? Like, what would you do if like 5 running zombies you can't take them all out. So it would just be like, well, we had a good run. Let's call it the day. So when the inevitable zombie apocalypse does happen, I hope they are walkers.
My sister reminds me often, because she has a similar fascination with surviving zombie apocalypses as you, Rose, that I would be one of the first gone because I live next to a graveyard. So naturally, I would get the first wave of The Walking Dead right next door. And I sure hope they walk, because
no, David would be the character that like shows up at our house. He's like, guys, I don't feel so good. Some
I
crazy
know
person.
you would be. Can you
Some
take a
crazy
look at
person
this,
hit
like,
me.
right? Like,
No.
did it break skin? I'd be like,
They'd
get
be
out.
like, what's in your arm? Nothing. It's fine. Nothing's happening.
Cover it up.
I'm feeling
It's
so
it's a
tingly.
mouth-shaped scratch.
No, I'd be like, get out.
So our last movie of this Essentials lineup is, of course, the John Carpenter 1978 classic Halloween. What would Halloween be without it? I think we all know the story. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night, Michael Myers escapes a sanitarium and returns to his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois. It's his home field. To exact his revenge, but winds up encountering a particularly resilient teenager by the name of Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. The final chapter, the allegedly final chapter in the Halloween saga, Halloween Ends, just released in theaters and on Peacock this past Friday. So if you're looking to start the story from the very beginning, you can check out the OG movie right now for free with Zumo. Anything else before we wrap this up?
I like how you said allegedly. It's the last one. So true.
I don't know. We talked about this last week. I just can't see a situation where, in the history of the rest of the world, hundreds of years or until, the asteroid, no one will make another one of these movies. It's not going to happen. We're going to see another Iron Man eventually one day. We will see many, many more Batman. Someone will remake E.T. It's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And it matters who owns the rights, because, we haven't seen Back to the Future 4 or Back to the Future reboot because that team doesn't want to do it. The person that owned the rights to Michael Myers, he's like, he'll sign it off left and right. He's like, oh, Rob Zombie wants to do it. Why not?
Give me the money.
So it'll be like a month from now, they're gonna be like, we got a really good idea, so we feel like we need to do it. So yeah, Michael Myers has not seen his last home field attack.
For sure. And if you want to check out the movies we just talked about, just say the titles into your voice remote, or you can check out the 4-day horror movie marathon on the Xfinity What to Watch channel on Zumo, October 28th through Halloween. We'll have Nosferatu, House on Haunted Hill, Night of the Living Dead, Halloween, The Tingler, Prom Night, Sleepaway Camp, Slumber Party Massacre, Suspiria, Ginger Dead Man, An American Werewolf in Paris, The Last House on the Left, Ginger Snaps, and plenty of classics from the Mistress of Darkness herself, Elvira. How do I know all of this? I made the list. I made the marathon. So I know what's going to be there. And you can find it. Yes, Gordon.
Here's the thing. When it comes to curating things, David is the gold standard. But how are there only 2 ginger-themed movies, David? That's the best you could do? Two ginger movies?
You know what? Whenever someone's giving up those rights, I'm gonna make a 3rd Ginger movie.
Ginger Dead Man.
Ginger Dead Man 3. Ginger Dead Man Returns. So
run as fast as you can.
Oh, that's a good sneak preview of what we're doing next week on What to Watch Live. Hint, hint. So just say What to Watch on Zumo into your voice remote to check it out. Next up, we celebrate Filipino American History Month with our favorite Filipino American in a segment called Featured Collection. It is Filipino American History Month, and did you know Xfinity offers an entire collection of Asian American TV, movies, and networks? It's true, and our very own Rose is here to tell us more about it. Rose?
Yes, like David said, October, the entire month of October is Filipino American History Month. And being Filipino myself, while I live this every day, I so appreciate the visibility on Filipino Americans. It's prompted me to dig into my family history more. And at Xfinity, we celebrate and honor the history and culture of Filipino Americans all month long. We have a collection featuring documentaries that tell real stories of Filipino and Filipino American resilience, culture, and perspective. You'll find TV and movies of all genre. And here's something that's saya or fun. You'll notice throughout the destination there are Tagalog words infused everywhere. And here's a fun fact. In the Philippines, there are several dialects, and Tagalog is the common language of the Philippines. So finally, you'll see weekly spotlights on Filipino entertainers. Growing up Filipino, my parents and relatives would not hesitate to let me know when a very notable Filipino made it big in entertainment. That was like our world stage. That's how we saw other people that look like us. So it was the biggest thing when my dad would call me like, hey, she's part Filipino. Do you know that? Olivia Rodrigo, Lea Salonga, Joe Coy. You'll see them all featured here in this collection and so much more. Also featured in this collection would be my recommended pick, The Kingmaker. This examines the controversial history of Imelda Marcos and her family. Imelda served as the First Lady of the Philippines from 1965 to 1986. During her time as First Lady, I remember growing up and all I heard about was the woman with more than 1,000 pairs of shoes. Now, granted, I was in elementary school when this happened. Like, what first, second grader like watches the news? But that's how this woman's presence reverberated across the world. And this elementary school kid was like, oh, I know who Imelda Marcos is. I mean, because of like the shoes, but that's how immense their presence was. So more than 1,000 pairs of shoes, like nearly 1,000 bags, all of this stuff. But as I grew older, I wanted to know their realities, which prompted me to watch The Kingmaker, because I heard my parents and relatives talk about what it was like when they were growing up during the Marcos era and under his rule. And seeing The Kingmaker really helped like breathe life into what their realities were when they lived there before coming to the States. So as one reviewer puts it, it is a cautionary tale of a powerful leader whose questionable sense of reality divides the Philippines. And it very much does in terms of, how each of my relatives from different generations and different ages, what they think about it. And controversial is just one of many words that I have. But that said, it's absolutely worth your time. It's just a glimpse into, the history of the Philippines and being Filipino. And I hope you watch it, form your opinion, how everything happened back then. But it's so unbelievably interesting. Before I move on to Gordon and his pick to see if he saw anything in there. I mean, you've heard of Imelda Marcos,
oh, yeah? I'm just imagining how many influencers are watching this and being like, only 1,000 shoes. But yeah, I grew up, we lived in Southeast Asia for 2 years in Indonesia. So, we're familiar, with the politics of that area. And like you said, back during their time, that was all anybody would talk about were like, the extravagance of, Imelda's closet. So like to take a look at, the truth behind, what happened during that reign. It should be fascinating. So I will definitely check it out.
Yeah. Gordon, do you see anything in the collection that caught your eye?
I did.
Or that you watched?
I did. I'd already seen Easter Sunday, which is about the comedian Joe Coy stars in this, and he plays a struggling actor who's having trouble connecting with his son. He's been on the road so frequently that they don't have the best relationship, and he just had an audition for a role that's going to change his life, but then he's invited home for Easter Sunday, and as they say, Easter Sunday is apparently like the Filipino Super Bowl, so like the entire family's there. It's kind of like you think it's gonna go in one direction, just being a family comedy, but then there's like this whole like kind of like crime family side story that it goes off on. It's really funny. There's a lot of really good cameos, and Tia Carrere who I don't think there is a person in the 90s who did not have a crush on Tia Carrere. It started in Wayne's World and then was absolutely cemented during True Lies. Yeah, I with a capital L love Tia Carrere, so it's great to get to see her in this. But yeah, like just like a really like. What's funny is when I first saw the trailer for this, I didn't recognize any of like the main actors, and I'll go two different directions. Either I know all the actors, I'm like that must be good, I know all the actors, or it's like, oh, I don't know any of the actors. That must mean it's like secretly really good. I don't know. But if there's only like one or two actors, I'm like that must be terrible. So that's kind of what got me interested in this, and checked it out and really enjoyed it. You know, I thought it was odd to watch an Easter movie in the fall,
In August,
but I'll watch it again come Easter time. So yeah, Easter Sunday, Joe Coy, like it was a really good time.
I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you had fun, because I can't tell you how proud Filipinos are when they see other Filipinos represented on the big and or little screen. I'm not kidding when I tell you every single time I get a phone call and they're like, "Hey, did you see this?" And Joe Coy, he's up there. And you know, when he comes out for like stand-ups or comedy shows, I mean, we come out in droves because we're just so proud that it's like our brother, our kuya, he made it. Kuya is the Tagalog word for like older brother, sign of respect. You're like, oh my God, Kuya Joe, he made it. He represents our family. And so it really tickles my heart that you watched it and you enjoyed it. So
well, there's something really heartwarming. I think I've talked about this with the sitcom Young Rock. Is, you know, my wife and I watched that, and during the opening credits, you see all these Samoan names, and you don't get to see that many Samoan actors. You know, aren't represented nearly enough. So there's something heartwarming about like you know, getting to like this kind of like diversity that we're seeing these days. So I enjoyed it. Also enjoyed Young Rock. Check that out too. But David, what did you like from the collection?
Oh, so my pick is the Netflix series Street Food Asia. I've actually been long fascinated by Asian street food, and in fact, specifically took a trip to Vietnam several years ago because I watched the episode of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown where he ate noodles with President Obama in Hanoi. And I was like, I need to go sit on tiny plastic chairs, eat a bowl of noodles on the sidewalk on the other side of the world. And I did that. And this series like really captures that experience, but so much more. It's very, very good. And it's from the creators of Chef's Table. So it's not like a cooking show. It's more like a documentary, like a single half-hour documentary. Beautifully shot, like it's just wonderful. And it explores the unique cuisine from Thailand, Japan, India, Indonesia, Taiwan, South Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, and of course the Philippines. And in preparation for today's episode, I actually watched the Philippines episode, which featured a man named Florencio Escobar from Cebu, who makes a reef eel soup that he claims reinvigorates the body and enhances libido. And it's referred to lovingly as the Cebuan Viagra. That's what he calls it. I don't know who else calls it that, but he calls it that. And the whole episode kind of goes back and forth between following his story and who he is and where he comes from and his family and his life getting this eel and what the food and what the specific dish that really only he makes the way he makes it impacts like everyone around him and how like sought after it is. And they also then go back and forth between exploring other native foods like whole roasted pig, Chinese style spring rolls, hanging rice dipped in gravy, which was one of the more interesting things, and fish soup. And it's just like the kind of show that not only makes you crave this food, but it makes you crave travel and culture and connection with the world and the people around you. And in this like post-pandemic, you know, world, I think what more do we crave than like some sort of connection? And I think that's really what this series brings. So I can't recommend it enough. And it's on Netflix.
David,
Now-
you really hit the nail on the head when you talk about connection, because you walk into any Filipino person's home and like, are you hungry? Did you eat? You could say no, but there will be a feast of food put before you, because that's how we connect. As soon as you walk through our doors, you are family and we're gonna feed you. And like that's the connection. That's how, one of the many ways that we connect is through food. That's how we show our love. That's how we show you are our friend, our family. So I'm happy that translated when you watched it, because that's absolutely what we're all about.
Yeah, and David, this eel soup that works as like, what did you call it?
It's
Filipino
a
Viagra?
Filipino Viagra. It's
Yeah.
Cebuan, which is the city it's from. But yeah.
Do they mention in the series if they deliver? I'm asking for a friend.
Yes, I believe it's on Gold Belly. If you just
thousands and thousands of
right to your door.
On Gold Belly. I love Gold Belly, by the way.
I'm now your mom's least favorite. Like that.
Rose's stock is rising. Well, you can check out all the TV shows and movies we just talked about and so much more by saying Asian American into your Xfinity voice remote. Next up, sometimes truth is scarier than fiction in this latest edition of Impressed and Obsessed. When I was a kid, there was no TV show or movie in existence that was creepier than a single episode of Unsolved Mysteries. From the haunting theme song to Robert Stack's casual explanations of murders, disappearances, and paranormal phenomenon, Unsolved Mysteries was the best and the worst. Tomorrow, October 18th, Netflix premieres Volume 3 of its Unsolved Mysteries reboot, which will drop in three-episode installments on October 18th, October 25th, and November 1st. Let's take a quick look at the trailer.
There are things out there that we don't understand.
We're always looking for answers.
We've only begun to scratch the surface.
I want to know what happened to my daughter,
brother, my sister,
our father.
What do you think you saw that night?
Humans are capable of very vile acts.
My bizarre dream got weirder.
Where is Gordon going to? Well, yes, that's terrifying, and you can hear the familiar refrain of the Unsolved Mysteries theme song back there. And among the stories that will be covered in Volume 3 is the mysterious death of New Jersey teen Tiffany Valiente, who was struck and killed by a train in 2015. Her death was ruled a suicide, but the unusual details of her final moments lead her family to believe that she was murdered. Unsolved Mysteries Volume 3 includes episodes entitled Something in the Sky, Death in Vegas Motel, and The Ghost in Apartment 14. So there will be certainly something, a little something for every fan of true crime and unexplainable occurrences. And Gordon, I understand that you have some sort of unsolved mystery story that I have never heard before, so I'm very curious.
Okay, so David, first of all, you hit the nail right on the head. When I was a kid, nothing was scarier than Unsolved Mysteries, in particular, the Unsolved Mysteries theme song, which is to this day sends chills up my spine. There was even an episode where a lost girl tried to communicate with her parents through requesting a song on the radio. The song was "Hello"
by Lionel Richie.
By Lionel Richie, you know, and like when I hear that song to this day, it freaks me out. But my unsolved mystery story is when I was in junior high school, before a health class, our teacher, and here's the thing, I have the worst memory. I remember this like it was yesterday. Our teacher, her ex-husband had been murdered. He was a banker in Kansas City, and people broke into his house and took him to the bank and robbed the bank and then tied him to a chair and threw him in a river. And we all knew this story. And then it was featured on Unsolved Mysteries. And the day it aired, she said to us, she's like, "Hey everybody, my ex-husband's story is going to be Unsolved Mysteries tonight. And if we find the killer by the end of the school year, we'll have donuts and juice."
She did not.
Never forget that. And like, so first of all, obviously she'd been through a lot. So, I give her all the breaks in the world for how she was handling it. But that if there's ever verification that show was 100% real, it was the fact that they did his story. So it like, just like a verification that like how horrible this show was real. And we didn't get donuts and juice, if you're wondering. They did not catch the culprits, unfortunately. But yes, that's my Unsolved Mystery story. Even like I was half kidding by hiding under my daughter's hoodie, but I was a little serious because like I said, Unsolved Mysteries, the music in particular, just like right up my spine. Not a fan. I mean, totally a fan, but
there's nothing creepier than it being true. Like David, you mentioned it earlier. I'm like, yeah, that's really scary. I'm so sorry that's so crazy, Gordon.
Do you ever Google to find out if they've solved it to this day?
I haven't. I actually once had to like dig to try to find the episode. And I'm trying to we did have it back when we had the old series. I haven't done it in a while, so like the episode exists. I have not checked to see if they caught the culprits. I'll have to do that. We'll
Did you watch it? Did you watch it when you were younger?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wanted my donuts and juice. But the interesting thing about the case was it was so unprofessionally done that there was a belief that it wasn't necessarily the robbery was a cover for why they really did it. So that was part of like the angle.
I thought you were going to say that she like rolled in that TV on a giant stand and you all watched it as a class.
I know. I was thinking the same thing too.
No. Oh goodness.
Well, all of the like old episodes, the Robert Stack and the Dennis Farina episodes of Unsolved Mysteries are available, I believe, from Zumo and maybe Tubi and Pluto. Like all 100+ of them are available on Xfinity platforms for free from a bunch of different providers. So you can hunt back and maybe some of the viewers will go and try and figure out that too. Maybe you can get your juice and cookies all these years later.
Juice and donuts. That's the thing. I have the worst memory, but I remember juice and donuts like it was yesterday.
God.
I'm never going to think about donuts and juice the same way after today.
That's very odd. Rose, there is a true crime series that you and I are both very excited about that I would like you to tell our fans about.
Yes. Excited. I don't know if that's the right word, but maybe it invokes that strong emotion. The TV series that we're talking about is A Friend of the Family. It's on Peacock, and it's the true story of Jan Broberg. So I first watched the actual documentary, what it was like, the crime that it was based on, called Abducted in Plain Sight. And I was so upset at the family and so mad. I couldn't watch the entire thing because if you don't know the story, Jan was abducted twice. And the first time, her parents didn't call the authorities for 5 days because they still weren't convinced that their daughter was kidnapped. So I needed a length of time to pass before watching this series, or before the series came out. And I'm glad that time passed, but I'm glad I also gave Peacock's version a try. Yeah. But David, you're about to say something before I go into...
Yeah, I'm going to say we have the trailer, so we should watch that.
Yes! Let's watch the trailer.
Who are the birch tolls?
They're new.
I'm Jan.
Pleased to meet you, Jan. What good luck that you folks moved in 2 blocks up.
He gets these impulsive moods.
Oh my gosh. That trailer doesn't even do it justice, but please give it a shot. I gave it a shot, and I'm glad I did. And here's what got me from the very beginning, before the series even starts. Jan herself you see her first, and she addresses the audience, and she reiterates that, listen, this was at a very different time. Back then, it was completely different. And she tries to go into, like, this man, he was manipulative. It could happen to anyone, but because the time was so different, just keep that in mind when you're watching. And I'm very, very appreciative of that reminder, because I grew up back then. It was like the tail end of the 70s into the 80s, and it was a different time. Like, I was a latchkey kid, and I was home alone for hours of the day. We would go out, and the world was just so trusting back then. So I really appreciate Jan coming on and giving us that reminder, and it really eased my feelings towards them, because I'm telling you, the scripted version really helps paint a picture of how different it was back then, and how a true predator could manipulate the trust of an entire family and prey on them. Today, I feel like we would just dismiss it, be like, are you kidding me? Like, no, absolutely not. This, you have to watch it. And the crazy thing is that it's all freaking true. I don't know if that doesn't get you, what will?
I mean, Rose, you know that I also watched Abducted in Plain Sight, which is the Netflix docuseries about this story. And you leave there thinking these are the two worst parents in the entire world. Some of the dumbest people who have ever lived were involved in this story. And different time or not, I just can't. It is interesting that she came on to say that, to kind of defend her parents, because they look really bad.
Yes.
But when I can't spoil it, but when you know what else he did throughout, and who else he fooled, and the ways that he fooled them, it is stunning. I mean, my mouth was dropped the entire time, because it's just thing after thing after thing, and you're just sitting there on the couch going, come on, man, come on, like, really?
Yeah. And the thing, I was doing some reading too, and I can't remember if this was addressed in the film, or the series. I had so many emotions, but also the reason why they may have been so forgiving and maybe dismissive and trusting is because of their faith too. I think they were part of the LDS, Church of the Latter-day Saints. So, they didn't want to call it the authorities, because they didn't want to put up a fuss. This is just nothing. And, they were just so trusting. They had their faith, and I can't remember the point that I was going in, because I just get so worked about these two seemingly horrible people. Oh, this is the point I wanted to say. Okay, I got it. So when I was reading the documentarians of that Netflix series, David, they were saying that they too, when they were editing, had to take like a 6-month break, because they had the similar strong feelings of like, you guys are so horrible. What, are you kidding? They had to take a break before coming back and finishing the documentary. But the scripted series, I mean, because it's, from the documentary to retold accounts, the scripted series really helps paint the picture of any missing pieces that you might have in those jaw-dropping moments. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
And the cast is pretty good. Jake Lacey, who a lot of people know from The Office and from White Lotus, and Anna Paquin, of course, from True Blood, and unrecognizable Colin Hanks over there as the dad.
Yeah. And shameless plug, McKenna Grace is she's on there too. And I actually was able to interview her for a Disney show, a Disney movie. So she has fantastic talent. Say that again, David.
Wasn't it Spirit Untamed that you?
Yes. Oh my God, good memory. Yes.
Also, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh, of course.
Of course. Fantastic. Yes. She's one to watch out for. She's good. So, David, okay, I know we have similar feelings about this, but what would be your pick?
You mean Gordon?
I meant Gordon.
Yes.
It's the shirt
Gordon.
and the
It
hair
is.
and
We're
the
just
beard.
we're just gonna swap. We're gonna swap into our.
I
Hey, here we are.
Cindy, am I still your favorite? I'm sorry.
David's mom stopped watching the show, so she's like, I can't stand it.
She's left. She's left the room. She's
They're all
back
the
to
worst.
Dark Shadows repeats.
All right, so my pick, thank you, Rose, for the seamless handoff, is a docuseries about internet sleuths that's called Don't Blank with Cats.
This person wants to play a game of cat and mouse, and I'm up for that. There's a lot of information in the video. You see a door handle, electrical receptacles.
Everything pointed to North America. But then
You hear some voices.
he was Russian.
Oh, maybe he's located in Russia.
Thousands of people looking to find this guy. There was a tidal wave of leads that were coming in.
I wasn't gonna stop until I found him.
Clearly, this video is not the end.
Something bad is about to happen. He's gonna kill somebody.
Our producers are so glad I said blank. So it's a family show. So basically what this is docuseries from Netflix, which is about a video that went viral, a terrible video that went viral of a guy torturing and killing some cats. And it kind of caught fire on the internet because they wanted to find out who did it and make sure that they didn't do it again. So this series of internet sleuths started to dive into the video, and there wasn't a lot of information available. But like you saw in the ad, they said, okay, well, that light switch is like that, and that doorknob is that. And in the background, we can kind of hear a voice. And they were able to locate the person who did it, and fortunately, like spoiler alert, like try to bring that person to justice. One of the things that's fascinating about these kinds of docuseries, and what I love is, you ever read the Hunger Game books?
Yeah.
Did that go off the rails? The thing I love about the Hunger Game books and what kept me going through them is every chapter ended with like some like bat poop crazy thing happening. There, I said bat poop thing happening. See, I'm keeping it clean. And that kept you like going into the next chapter. I got to find what happened. And these docuseries, it's like you'll be watching like 50 minutes, like, oh, this is really interesting. I'm really learning. And then they're like, and then you found out this insane thing. See you next time. And that's all they'll give you. And this series is very good at that, because when you go down the rabbit hole to see who this person is and why they're doing this and what other horrible things they might have accomplished, it is insane. Like I said, it starts with just like this like one horrible act, and it keeps getting worse and worse as they go through it. But it's a really well done piece, and really nice to see the internet doing something good for a change. So Don't Blank with Cats on Netflix. Check it out. David, Rose, have either of you seen this?
I have not. This was one that kind of like slipped through the cracks for me, but I love the angle of, and this is something it has in common with Unsolved Mysteries, is that it really inspires the internet community, particularly Reddit, to really dig back into these stories, like and try and solve them themselves. And that happened at least with one case and one story on a previous season of the Unsolved Mysteries reboot, where people dug into it and they were actually able to, I can't recall if it was actually solve the case or made some breakthroughs in it. So, anytime the internet can be used for good, it's rare, but I love that angle, and I love a good sleuthing.
Yeah, and if they can get to the bottom of it and bring someone to justice, then everybody deserves donuts and juice.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that. Such a professional.
Rose, do you want to say anything, or are we just going to leave it at that beautiful?
We'll leave it at that. There's nothing more to say after that.
Well, you can check out everything we just talked about, plus many more outrageous true crime shows, docuseries, and documentaries by saying True Crime Fans into your voice remote to access our true crime destination. Next up, we've got an interview you can really sink your teeth into in a segment called Hangouts and Extras. AMC recently debuted an all-new adaptation of Anne Rice's iconic novel Interview with the Vampire, which stars Game of Thrones alum Jacob Anderson as Louis de Pont du Lac, an enterprising young man whose whole life changes Well, it ends when he meets a sexy vampire played by Sam Reed in turn-of-the-century New Orleans. I recently sat down with Jacob and Sam to film an upcoming episode of Xfinity Hangouts, and here is a sneak peek at our conversation.
I was not yet ready to hunt, but desperate to feed.
It's best to let the food come to you.
You're not welcome in this home.
This is how it has to be.
I don't want to kill people. You're a vampire. I could not save myself, but I could save her.
She'll be what? A daughter?
We're a family.
She is poisoning you against me.
You two have each other. Who am I supposed to love?
This is not a life! You took my life!
We'll be together 10,000 nights, 100,000.
Ready to begin the adventure of our lives. My companions in immortality.
I think we all, at some point in our lives, pretended to be a vampire biting someone's neck. And I was curious. I'm curious how you prepared to actually sink your teeth into those moments on screen.
I feel like initially we didn't really think about it, and then we started having to do it fairly regularly, and we're like, this is really weird. You meet someone,
and then you go bite
that
them.
day, and then you can't bite them. You can taste their sweat.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more intimate than a sex scene. I think doing it is quite an extreme thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's also trying to work out how much blood you ingest per bite. If you're draining somebody's entire body of blood, it's quite a lot of fluid to be drinking, and how long does it go for, and what's the kind of draw, and Anne Rice does talk about it these epic sort of draws that they take. So it was sort of making sure that translated as well. There was a fair amount of thought that went into it.
Yeah.
And sometimes those scenes would just go on and on and on, and you'd be like, God, this is... Are they going to go cut? Because this is...
Jacob has just latched onto your wrist, and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was an epic draw.
Yeah, I had a wrist hickey, actually, by the end of it.
I had a neck hickey,
yeah.
so...
Yeah.
A hickey.
Yeah. Payback hickey. Yeah.
So... Interview with a Vampire has already been renewed for a second season, so you can jump into this without fear that it's not coming back. It's performed really well, and I can't say enough good things about it, honestly. I was shocked by how good it is. It's beautifully shot. Jacob and Sam are both excellent. The performances are chilling at times. And I think it really pushes the boundaries of what we've seen, even on AMC. It's very not safe for work. It's bloody. It's gory. There's nudity, actual nudity. And there is a lot of sex. It's like True Blood in that sense. And it is much more like something you'd see on HBO. And that's a really, really great thing. And I'll also say, if you're an AMC Plus subscriber, you get to see new episodes a full week early before they air on TV. So episode 3 or 4, we'll say episode 3 airs on AMC. The same night you can watch episode 4 with AMC Plus. So, and you both recognize Jacob Anderson as Grey Worm from Game of Thrones. This is a very different role for him.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Gordon.
I was just going to make a dumb joke. David, how on earth did you avoid saying your interview with a vampire?
I had that scripted initially, and I took it out.
because that was too dumb, Gordon.
No, it's a good line.
Going back to the show, I actually, I've seen the promotions for this, but I love the original movie so much that I actually sort of doubted that I was going to like this or not. So you seal the deal for me, David, with a few things. Already renewed for a second season.
Was it when he said nudity? Then you were like, oh.
I'm in. I mean, and not just nudity, like actual nudity, as David said.
Actual nudity, yeah, not implied nudity, actual nudity.
Actual nudity.
And fans of the show may remember a particular moment, but Rose, you'll be happy to know there is an orgy.
I'll be happy to know there's an orgy. Don't start rumors. No, I'm not happy to know that. I just make a story.
So wait. I'm saying don't blank with cats, but David could be like, oh, I know.
Orgy, nudity, actual nudity.
It's true. It's Rose. To your point, it is slightly. There are definitely differences from the novel. There are differences from the Brad Pitt movie that everyone loves in the sense that it's changed its location and it's changed its time. But I think one of the things that really surprised, the scenes that are set in New Orleans are so beautifully shot, and the way they recreate that time is just stunning. But the moments that really drew me in were when Louis in modern day is actually having his interview with the journalist Daniel Malloy, who is played by Eric Bogosian. And it's something about their dynamic that I found just absolutely enthralling. They just have great chemistry, and Eric is really great as playing kind of this traumatized journalist who's kind of at the end of his career, but had this time in his life that he spent previously with Louis, and it went poorly. And they just say, you just get the sense of their history, and I was just totally in from the very beginning.
All right. Well, check me in. Check me in.
Yeah.
Check you in.
Check me in.
Yeah,
You've checked all the boxes that require me to watch that I need to watch a show. So count me in. You've checked all the boxes. There we go.
Gordon, are you in?
No, check me in as well. I'm in the same boat as Rose. I was a big fan of the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Christian Slater movie. So it is one of those things where sometimes when they redo something you enjoy, you're maybe a little more reluctant to get into it. But like I said, David is the gold standard as far as TV recommendations and curation. So if David, and also I was a big fan of Grey Worm in Game of Thrones, so I'll definitely be checking it out.
Here he is. I got him over here. He's sitting on the side, my little Grey Worm. I had him for the prop for the interview, and now he just lives in this room.
Now he just lives. You took him out of the box. I'm surprised.
You should have used him as a prop when you were like, okay, so you take his wrist and
all right, what are we doing? My full interview with Jacob and Sam will be available soon. Just say what to watch into your voice remote to check it out. And if you want to see the new episode of Interview with the Vampire right now, before it airs on TV this Sunday, just say AMC Plus on demand into your voice remote to sign up. And before we head out for the week, as always, we'll help you organize your TV watch list in a segment called Plan Ahead. In this week's premieres, we celebrate the return of Amy Schumer, Chloe Grace Moretz, Eugenio Derbez, and Blind Love. Rose, can you tell us more about it?
Singles trying to find love, get engaged, and then get married, all without ever seeing each other face to face. I'm talking about the dating reality show, Love is Blind. Seasons 1 and 2 have already topped the Netflix charts. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, take this as your sign to catch up, because Season 3 of Love is Blind premieres October 19th on Netflix. Ever wonder what Amy Schumer is thinking about? You don't have to answer that, because Inside Amy Schumer is going to give you her thoughts on the world anyways, featuring Amy Schumer's humor through scripted vignettes, clips from her stand-up performances, and man on the street interviews. You get inside the mind of Amy Schumer with Inside Amy Schumer, premiering on Paramount Plus October 20th. Based on the New York Times bestsellers list book of the same name, One of Us is Lying starts with 5 high school students who walk into detention and only 4 walk out alive. All survivors claim to be innocent as the case revolves around which one of them is lying. Watch season 2 of One of Us is Lying October 20th on Peacock. Acapulco is a bilingual comedy series that can boast a perfect score of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the rag to riches story of Maximo, whose dream comes true when he gets a job as a cabana boy at Las Colinas, the hottest resort in Acapulco in the 80s. Maximo and the Las Colinas crew are back for a second season, premiering on Apple TV Plus October 21st. Another series based on the book of the same name, The Peripheral, is a science fiction time-bending series where adjectives like dazzling and hallucinatory have been used to describe the peripheral. Sounds interesting to me. The Peripheral premieres on Prime Video October 21st.
Peripheral.
Peripheral?
Peripheral.
Peripheral? I can't say it. That was a hard word to say.
It was. I agree. Even when you said it, I was like, is that right? Oh, that's right. Peripheral?
Peripheral?
Yeah.
It's like rural juror.
Rural juror.
In this week's finales, we say farewell to moles, dragons, demons, and pumpkins. Oh my. Gordon, hit us with those details.
Thank you, David. All right, let's get you up to date on everything that will be bidding us adieu with this week's finale. Starting off on Thursday, October 20th, it's the season finale of Little Demon on FXX at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. This hilarious animated comedy about the offspring of Satan is about a family, but probably isn't for the whole family. There's quite a bit of language and violence, but it does feature some recognizable voice talent in Aubrey Plaza and Danny DeVito. It's yet to be picked up for a season 2, but my fingers are firmly crossed that it will be. Then, on Friday, October 21st, the season finale of The Mole drops on Netflix. The original Mole, which was hosted by Anderson Cooper, is one of my all-time favorite reality shows. This version has done it proud. Who's the saboteur? Who's going to win the big prize? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. From there, Sunday, October 23rd is a big night for finales. We've got the season 2 finale of Power Book 3: Raising Kanan on Stars at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And wow, what a season it has been. It really feels like a return to form for this gritty drama. Best of all, it's already been picked up for season 3 by our friends over at Stars, so there's even more in our future. But you're going to have a tough choice to make because at the same time, Sunday, October 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the season finale of House of the Dragon on HBO Max. I'm kidding. Don't choose. Honestly, just DVR one and watch the other, or watch it on demand. This isn't the 80s. We've got options. Anywho, House of the Dragon has been amazing. The Game of Thrones crew had a big mountain to climb to get me back on board, and they have done it. I can't wait to see how this turns out, and I'm eagerly anticipating season 2. And finally, that same night, I know what David's going to be doing, right? On Sunday, October 23rd. He's going to be watching the finale of Outrageous Pumpkins on the Food Network at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. He won't be alone. I'll be watching too. This show features the best carvers in the world coming together to turn pumpkins into works of art in an effort to squash the competition. Get it? Squash? Huh? Nothing? All right, anywho, if you're a Halloween fan, you will not want to miss it. And that's all I got for finales. David, back to you, buddy.
And Gordon, you know me so well. Gordon. I will be there. I will be watching that along with you. And that will do it for today's show. Thanks to my fellow Xfinity editors and my friends Rose and Gordon for joining me this week. Also, thank you to the stars of Interview with the Vampire, Jacob Anderson, Sam Reed for joining us. Shout out to our producers, Brad, Aaron, and everyone else behind the scenes for making this show run smoothly. We appreciate you. If you want to check out the TV shows and movies that we talked about today, get more of our entertainment recommendations, or watch us interview big celebrities, because we do that sometimes, just say what to watch into your voice remote or tune in here every Monday at 4 p.m. for a new episode, or you can check us out across the country 24/7 on the Xfinity What to Watch channel on Zumo. My name is David. Thank you for joining us on What to Watch Live.
Bye.
Bye.